Hey guys, Mangs here, and today I want to talk a little bit about my plans for Fortune's Weave on the channel. Now, I am aware that we haven't really heard anything about this game since the initial trailer dropped over 5 months ago. Just to give you a bit of perspective on why that feels a little strange, it took a little over 4 months from the very first Engage trailer until that game actually released. So by comparison, things are definitely moving a bit slower this time around, at least from the outside looking in. But before I get into Fortune's Weave, I want to explain what's been going on with the channel lately. Some of you have probably noticed that uploads and streams have been a bit less regular since the start of the new year, and the reason for that is that I've been working a lot more consistently at my other job. For those of you who don't know, I'm operating a forklift at a warehouse, doing long shifts of pretty physically demanding labor. I love the job though. Mentally, I'm doing extremely well, but physically, I'm completely exhausted by the time I get home from work. And honestly, I'd much rather have it be that way rather than the opposite. I have been trying to negotiate a bit with my boss to see if I can reduce my work hours a little so I can dedicate more time to YouTube again. And it does look like I might finally have some luck on that front. It's a really solid job though, so I'd like to hold on to it as long as possible. Doing YouTube full-time was nice, but it isn't really feasible anymore in the current landscape. And to be honest, it's not really something I want to go back to doing anyway. Long hours in front of the computer is not good for your brain. The reason I'm currently working 2 jobs is that I'm trying hard to save up for a house for me, my wife, and hopefully our future children. So naturally, that's a pretty big priority in my life. I am no longer a 20-year-old bachelor with no responsibilities beyond myself and all the time in the world to stream and upload. Those were some good times, but as you grow older, life tends to throw you more curveballs, and I wouldn't have it any other way. On top of working 2 jobs, I've also been trying to dedicate at least a bit of time every day to working on Undertale Saga Definitive Edition, which I'm hoping to release sometime this year. Most likely after Fortune's Weave, depending on when the game ends up launching. Speaking of which, this video is primarily about what I plan to do when Fortune's Weave finally comes out. Personally, I suspect that the release of this game might be a lot closer than people think. If I had to guess, I'd estimate something like a late summer launch, maybe August or September. And when we start getting closer to release, I do plan on shifting my focus back to YouTube full-time for a while, because I expect this game to perform incredibly well. Despite having very solid gameplay, I think Engage drove quite a few fans away from the series due to its presentation, and that was very noticeable for content creators. The game was more or less dead in the algorithm just a few months after release. Now, as you guys know, I got my issues with Three Houses. I think it's a decent game overall, but not a particularly well-designed Fire Emblem game. But I also can't deny that it did an incredible job of bringing in new fans to the franchise. And Fortune's Weave, with its very obvious ties to Fodlan, will probably bring a lot of those fans back. If that happens, we might actually be looking at another kind of golden age for Fire Emblem content on YouTube. And I'm very excited about that, not just for myself, but also for all these smaller Fire Emblem channels out there that I've been hoping to grow over the past couple of years. It's been a fairly slow period for the community in the wake of Engage, and there are a lot of really talented content creators out there who simply haven't had the opportunity to expand their reach because interest in the series haven't been particularly high. I'm really hoping that Fortune's Weave changes that and helps bring more attention to these creators. We need more fresh blood in the Fire Emblem community. New perspectives, new voices, and different kinds of content. Anyway, as for my own plans, as I have been doing for the past few games, I will of course be starting off with a marathon stream as soon as the game releases, most likely on the second highest difficulty, like I did with Engage. That first run really is all about just experiencing the game, having fun with it, and getting a feel for what it has to offer. The reason I like doing this is because it lets me complete the game quickly so I can get out a review for people who might be on the fence about buying it. I expect that initial playthrough to take somewhere between 5 to 10 streams total, depending on how long the game ends up being. Immediately after that though, I want to do something on the channel that I haven't done in years, and that is to release a full Let's Play of the game. Let's Plays are what made my channel grow in the first place. But over the past 5 years or so, the algorithm has changed dramatically on YouTube, and it's been pretty unforgiving towards daily episodic content, to the point where consistently uploading Let's Plays will actually hurt your channel's overall performance. It'll bury your videos, make it so that your subscribers don't see your uploads, and eventually your channel will just kind of rot away. I miss doing Let's Plays a lot, but since YouTube is a major part of my income, I have to do what works. However, I do actually believe that if a Let's Play is released at the right time, when there's an audience actively looking for the game, it can still perform extremely well. I also know that there's a pretty large portion of my audience who don't watch streams and prefer video content instead, and I don't want to leave you guys hanging. So the moment I'm done with my initial Fortune's Weave playthrough on stream, I'm going to start releasing daily Let's Play episodes in a similar format to how I used to do in the past. And I am also strongly considering bringing on some co-hosts for these runs. If the game ends up having multiple routes, I wouldn't be opposed to doing multiple Let's Plays with different co-hosts, and I really hope you guys will help me out and support those videos when they happen. Watch time, likes, comments, all of that plays a huge role in how the algorithm responds. If Let's Plays are ever going to make a comeback on YouTube, it's going to take some effort from both content creators and their viewers alike. Beyond that, I also do want to make some scripted content about Fortune's Weave, reviews, possibly some character spotlights if there's interests, and of course, I will eventually try to Iron Man the game as well, but that will come after I'm done with the initial stream and Let's Plays. At the moment, I have no idea how Iron Man friendly the game will actually be. We don't know if it's going to feature a turn wheel mechanic or how well balanced the highest difficulty will be. My hope is that the game isn't too similar to Tree Houses from a gameplay standpoint, but that it instead borrows more from the mechanical depth of Engage. The ideal scenario would be a game that tries to tell a story in a serious way the way Tree Houses did, but keeps the mechanical depth and map design of Engage. That would be the dream, and I sure hope it's not going to be the other way around. I also plan to be a lot more active on YouTube in the lead up to Fortune's Weave's release, especially if they start putting out information more regularly, similarly to what they did with Tree Houses, and to a lesser extent with Engage. I love making news videos and covering the hype cycle, and who knows, maybe we'll even see some leaks closer to launch. It happened with both of the previous games, if you guys remember. So at least for a while before and a while after release, I do plan on being back to YouTube full time. How long that lasts will likely depend on how well the game ends up performing. I'm not going to lie, there is a part of me that is starting to get very worried about how this game might be marketed. I worry that Nintendo might be tempted to rely too heavily on the success and nostalgia of Tree Houses without actually putting in the necessary effort to advertise this game. The fact that we've gone almost 6 months without any real updates also makes me wonder if the game might end up being delayed, similar to what happened with Tree Houses, although it's equally possible that they're just trying to avoid overlapping with other major releases. I'm also hoping that, like in 2018, we'll get another dedicated Fire Emblem Direct, where they really show what the game has to offer. Overall, I am very excited for Fortune's Weave. I think it has the potential to be a really cool period for the community, similar to what things felt like during the Tree Houses era. We'll likely see new content creators gaining traction as interest in the series picks back up, more eyes on Fire Emblem content across the board, and hopefully just a lot of shared excitement around a brand new release. Of course, there's always the possibility that the game ends up being a train wreck. That can never be completely ruled out. But I'm choosing to stay optimistic for now. As much as modern Fire Emblem can sometimes lean a bit too much into awkward storytelling or questionable presentation choices, there honestly hasn't been a single entry in recent memory that's been outright bad to play. I think my biggest criticisms in recent years have been things like Shadows of Valentia lacking replayability, or Tree Houses having far too much monastery downtime that interrupts the core gameplay. But aside from that, every Fire Emblem title that's released during my time on YouTube have been enjoyable in its own way. There's just something about this series that consistently delivers when it comes to gameplay, and I don't really see any reason why Fortune's Weave would suddenly be the exception to that. That said, my biggest concern for this game is that it might lean a bit too heavily on nostalgia, especially on the Tree Houses fanbase. I have this theory, and I hope you guys remember this in case it turns out to be true, that a lot of the character units that we're going to see are going to be heavily inspired or straight up copies of Tree Houses units. A very shameless kind of, remember this unit? Oh yeah, this unit is the descendant of that unit, look how similar they are approach. Maybe I'm being a bit overly cynical here, it just feels like something they would do. If it ends up being the case, it would be a bit disappointing because it suggests a lack of confidence in the game's ability to establish its own identity. But we'll just have to wait and see how things turn out. I could be wrong, but I could also be right. Anyway, let's summarize this video really quickly. So my plan moving forward is to be a lot more active on YouTube once we start getting regular Fortune's Weave news. And then I plan to return to content creation full-time for a while when the game releases, and possibly for quite a while afterwards, depending on how well the game performs. I do want to know if you guys are excited for the return of a more traditional Let's Play format. I'm really hoping we can build some momentum around it for those videos to perform well. Your support there would genuinely make a big difference. Anyway guys, thank you for sticking with me through all of that. I hope this was at least somewhat informative and that you have a better understanding of my current situation now. Hopefully, if I'm able to get my work schedule sorted out, I should be a bit more consistently available on YouTube in the lead up to Fortune's Weave news. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content, and don't forget to bookmark my Fortune's Weave playlists. I'll be keeping that updated with the latest news and information about the game as it comes out, so it should be a good place to check in once updates start rolling in. Anyway guys, my name is mangsmemes. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.